Hey, what up, world? We're here on First Things First, FS1 with Mr. Nick Wright, and he's got his own player pyramid with the different tiers of players in the NBA. It's gonna be a little fun to watch, but I haven't seen this before. But let me give you my tiers. I've kind of mentioned in my videos. So, as within Tier 1, also known as the superstars in the NBA, there's only a few superstars in the NBA today. A lot of players like to throw out superstars to anyone. That's not the case. Let's evaluate. And I'll give a little intro, and I'll go more in depth whenever I cover his pyramid scheme. So as number one, I do have LeBron James, the greatest player in the world. He is a superstar tier one player in the NBA today. And tier one players, these are players who have either won championships or have been very close. Most likely have won championships. They're impact franchise players and leaders, the top echelon of the NBA. A different class when it comes down to it. So number one, LeBron James, part of that tier one. Also part of the tier one, I do have Kawhi Leonard. I do have Kevin Durant. I do have Steph Curry within that. I do have James Harden when it comes down to it. And I'm very curious to have Giannis Antetokounmpo on that list or not. Last season I did, but after his flame out early in the playoffs, gentleman sweep by the Miami Heat, he's on that bubble for me. He's ranging from either tier 1 to tier 2. It's a weird position on that, but I'll leave it on that. Um, Also on that bubble, Luka Doncic. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to have to put Luka Doncic starring on tier 2. So tier 2 are these players that are either up and coming young guys who don't have enough experience in the playoffs to prove that they've won, but they're still franchise players, impact players that can take your franchise to a winning state. So within the tier 2s, for example, Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a beta. He's not an alpha. He's not a number one guy, so I got him on the tier 2 stage of things. Jimmy Butler is on tier 2. When it comes down to it, Damian Lillard, some other players within that range. And then the tier 3s in the NBA, these are just starters. These are all-star type players in the league, like a Bradley Beal, like a John Wall. Um, Players along those sides. So tier ones are superstars, tier twos are star players, tier three are all-star type players, and then the tier four and tier fives, yada yada yada. So I've been talking too much. Let's jump into here and let's evaluate this.
Time for Nick's NBA pyramid.
Oh!
Our guy Nick Wright's been waiting for this morning since the split second the Lakers won the title 73 days ago. Nick, take us through the best players in the NBA.
Before we show it, I will postulate this. The NBA has never had more talent than it does right now. The league is as deep as it's ever been. Some would argue that would make championships won right now way even heavier than championships won in an earlier era, if you were ever going to do a player comparative discussion, but we don't have to get into that.
A la MJ versus LeBron James as a GOAT. We know what's up. We know.
Show the pyramid. Here are the 36 best players in the league.
Oh, sheesh. All right. I'm probably not going to cover all this. Let me give my little stake within here. All right. So in the intro, I gave my tier one, tier two, tier threes, as in superstars versus star players versus all stars. But looks like Nick has this more as a player pyramid. So he's got LeBron James on an island by himself. And I agree with that. I do. I've stated in my previous videos, LeBron James is an island by himself as the greatest player in the league. And within that, whenever you're coming from the second best player to the fifth best player, it can intermingle. For example, you can have Kevin Durant over Kawhi, but then you can have Kawhi over Steph. You can have Steph over Giannis. You can have James Harden over Kawhi Leonard, yada, yada, yada. Some players go back and forth. So when it comes to Kawhi, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and some of these Luka Doncic, some of these other players, you can go back and forth when it comes down to them. So I don't have too much on that. So LeBron James on the island, yes. Looks like he's got Luka at number 2 and Giannis. Actually, Luka at 2 and KD at 3. Um, no, sir. Luka Doncic is not the second greatest player in the world. Luka right now is around 6 to 7, somewhere in that range. But let him explain a little more. I'll go down.
We know who's at the top, LeBron James. Tier 2, the guy who's going to win league MVP, Luka Doncic, and the guy who last time we saw him play was the second best player in the league, Kevin Durant. Tier 3.
No, sir. Luka Doncic is not on tier 2 level. He has not won jack so far. Luka has a promising future. I expect him to be top 2 in MVP race within. I think him and Kevin Durant will be top 2 in MVP this season. But Luka, this is his 3rd season. He lost in the first round last season to the LA Clippers. We're really going to have to evaluate Luka Doncic at the end of this season. Whenever he folds in the playoffs, he elevates himself, or he kind of finishes as we expect him to be. So Luka, much love when it comes to him. He's around number 5, number 6 on my list, so I would have to drop him there. Kevin Durant at 3 is fine where it's at. I'm very shocked that they have, and this is petty for Nick Wright. This is petty, but he put Kawhi Leonard, I think around 7th or number 8. That's a slap in the face. That's disrespectful.
You've got a guy who one day will win an MVP in Anthony Davis, and then 2 guys who've won MVPs in Giannis and James Harden. Tier 4.
No, sir. Anthony Davis is not over Giannis Antetokounmpo or James Harden. Anthony Davis is a beta. He's a second guy on a championship team. A lot of NBA fans, two-dimensional thinkers, are going to say Anthony Davis was better than LeBron James. Anthony Davis should have been Finals MVP. AD was the guy. Listen, AD was a sprinkle on top. LeBron James was the impact franchise player that got them to where they needed to be. LeBron needed AD to do his thing. But Anthony Davis, without LeBron James, no, sir, that's not going to happen. AD as the number 1 guy, as being the quote-unquote leader on a team, will take you to a first or second round exit. LeBron James, being a number 1 guy, can either win you a championship or lose in the finals. That's the way it goes. But James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kawhi Leonard, and Steph Curry should be ahead of Anthony Davis.
These are the rest of your top 10. The hardest omission of that top 10 was the first guy on tier 5, Joel Embiid. You have Murray and Mitchell.
And that's disrespectful that he put Jimmy Butler, I believe, around number 14 on the list. Jimmy Butler right now should be a top 10 player in the league due to respect that he brought his team to the NBA Finals with the Miami Heat. Even though the Miami Heat are a unit, they are a team collection. Jimmy Butler could average pretty much around 17 points a game, and they were good to go. But listen, with the Miami Heat, nobody expected them to make the finals. Most people expected them to actually miss the playoffs last season in the beginning of the preseason. The Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler, he brought him over the top. He had stellar games in the finals, especially that Game 5. Jimmy Butler right now, I'll put him number 10 on my list due to respect, but after a couple months, it's easy to drop him off. But you got to give him respect right now. My top 10 right now is LeBron James at 1. At number 2, on my list, I do have Kawhi Leonard. At 3, I do have Kevin Durant. At number 4 on my list, I do have Steph Curry. At number 5, I do have Luka Doncic. No, my bad. Let me repeat myself. I got LeBron James number 1. I got Kawhi as number 2. At number 3, I do have Kevin Durant. 4, I do have Stephen Curry. At number 5, I do have Giannis Antetokounmpo. At 6, I do have Luka Doncic. At 7, I do have James Harden. At number 8, and real quick, with James Harden and Luka Doncic, they can intertwinkle. They can go back and forth. They're very close neck to neck. But you can go with Luka. You can go with James Harden. At number 8, I do have Anthony Davis. At number 9, Damian Lillard. And at 10, Jimmy Butler. But again, I expect Jimmy Butler in the future to switch off. I'm very shocked as well. He put PG-13 over Jason Tatum. I don't know if that's an order within that, but Jason Tatum should not be part of that tier 5. Jason Tatum should be part of that tier 4.
Who had unbelievable bubbles, along, of course, with Jimmy Butler, an unbelievable bubble. And CP3, folks, going into last year, he was further down the pyramid. Got himself back up, finishing in the top 5 MVP voting. And then you've got...
I would not put Jamal Murray on that tier. I would not put Jamal Murray on that tier 5 with Jimmy Butler and the crew. No. Jamal Murray is on a tier 6 as of right now. And to put Jamal Murray over a Ben Simmons on that, no. Even though Jamal Murray had an amazing playoffs, an amazing bubble, it's too early within that. Ben Simmons has been more consistent, and he's done that for around 3 seasons. So Jamal Murray, I really have to see what happens in the regular season. But no, that's not the no.
Really, really good second options for teams on tier number, what is that? Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you've got, again, think about how deep the league is right now. When guys like Bam and Kyrie and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal aren't even top 20 players, and then you round out your top 36. Trae Young is not a top 30 player, and he averaged 30 points per game. That is your NBA player pyramid, Broussard, going into this season. We haven't had games yet, so we don't need to adjust anything. The producers said they want to do a whole segment on this, but I don't know how much time we can spend on Broussard and Wild saying, that's perfect. It's like it was just inceptioned into our brains. So go ahead, Broussard.
And I get the hype on Zion Williamson, but to put him on that list with the Jason Tatum is disrespectful. I mean, they did Jason Tatum so bad on this list. It's not even funny. It is bad. And I don't like this pyramid of there's like 7, 8 different tiers. It doesn't go like that. Like I stated, there's tier 1 in the NBA, which are the 5 to 6 superstars in the league. Then there's a tier 2 on my list, which are the star players in the league. So let me kind of recap it since we have a visual here. My tier 1, I do have LeBron James. I do have Kawhi Leonard on that list. Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, and James Harden. And I'm gonna put Giannis on the tier 1 as of right now. Actually, no, I'm gonna backtrack. My bad. I'm gonna put Giannis on the tier 2. So for tier 1, I'm gonna have LeBron James. I'm gonna have Kevin Durant. I'm gonna have Kawhi Leonard. I'm gonna have Steph Curry. I'm gonna have James Harden. Those are the 5 players in the NBA that have either won championships or been very close, have been very deep in impact. James Harden's the only one who has not won a championship, but he's been to a few conference finals appearances, and he lost 4 of the last 5 seasons to the Golden State Warriors, who were a dynasty. The tier 2s in the NBA, these are players who have gone somewhat deep in the playoffs, impact players, and have a lot of potential to come. So these star players are, and again, Giannis Antetokounmpo on there, Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard is on that list as a star player. Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid is on that list. Jimmy Butler is now on that list, making the NBA Finals. Who else? Jason Tatum is now on that list for a star player in the league. Klay Thompson would have been, but he's hurt, so not going to put him on there as within that. Kyrie Irving is a star player in the league. Who else we got? And that pretty much kind of covers within that tier. So now we're looking at the third tier, which are all-star players. If you're looking at those general all-star players, these are typically young cats, or if they're just veteran guys who've made it 1 to 2 seasons. Not very consistent. So, for example, Jamal Murray will be on that list with Donovan Mitchell. Chris Paul is on that list. PG-13 will be on there. Ben Simmons, Russell Westbrook, Bam Adebayo, Bradley Beal, Chris Middleton, yada, yada, yada. So that's what kind of the main 3 tiers. But let's just jump in a little more with, Chris and Nick.
But I assume yours would look the exact same.
Well, I was told I can only switch one guy. One guy moves up or down, which is a problem because a lot of this pyramid needs to change.
Bingo. I'm going to let him finish, and I know I kind of backtrack with the Giannis thing from tier 1 to tier 2, but you got to remember, guys, I'm freestyling when it comes to these videos. But yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo is not a tier 1 player. He is a tier 2.
Here's the guy. Switch Kawhi Leonard and Luka Doncic. The disrespect.
Bingo. Part 2. Thank you, sir. Disrespectful. And you know why Nick Wright did that? Because he's a LeBron lover. He hates the Clippers. He hates Kawhi Leonard. And this was intentional. Look at his face.
for Kawhi Leonard is outlandish, Nick Wright. This is a guy that's got 2 championships, that led a team to a title, that plays both ends of the floor, and you're putting Luka Doncic ahead of him now. I got Luka. I said earlier in the show, Luka will win the MVP. That's my prediction. So you may be saying, well, how do you move him down? The best player in the world doesn't necessarily win MVP. Steve Nash won 2 in a row, and he was never the best player in the league, maybe not even top 5 in the world. Shaq only won 1, and he was the best player for several years. So that is not the issue. Kawhi Leonard plays both ends of the floor. Luka Doncic has not yet won a playoff series. Not yet won a playoff series, and Kawhi's won 2 titles. And
Very premature to put Luka Doncic in that case. That's why right now I have Luka number 5, number 6, and you can switch him with Harden or not. It's not a big deal for me as of right now when it comes down to it. And within this list, it's for this season, but you still got to remember the legacy what these guys have and what they've been into. So, like, for example, I still have Steph Curry as number 4 all time because he has 3 championships. In 2019, he made the finals, but last season in 2020, Klay Thompson was out, Steph Curry was hurt, they missed the playoffs. I'm not going to knock him for that. So that's why I still have Steph Curry in that high tier of impact players. I'm going to keep it that way as within that. Who else we got? Kevin Durant, I'm putting him at number 3. He missed the playoffs last season, so I'm not going to knock him for that. At number 2, I do have Kawhi Leonard because within the 2020 season, he was number 1, number 2, back and forth with LeBron James. Right now, I do have LeBron James as it is at number 1, Kawhi at a clear number 2 because Kawhi Leonard won a championship in 2019, and last season in 2020, he folded in the second round, but I can't knock him too much to elevate Kevin Durant or Steph Curry because they pretty much didn't play last season. And then with James Harden, he got knocked in the second round. He's not over Kawhi Leonard. Luka Doncic is not over Kawhi Leonard because Kawhi Leonard beat Luka in that round. So, and then Giannis Antetokounmpo, Giannis lost in the second round by a gentleman's sweep to the Miami Heat. So I'm not going to put Giannis over Kawhi. So you got to be very consistent when it comes to your list. And that's how I keep my barriers on.
disrespecting him like this? Show a little objectivity, Nick Wright. My goodness.
Okay. This is, even by Chris Broussard and his love of the Clippers standards, this is a bridge too far.
And you know how disrespectful it is to put Harden, Giannis, and AD over a tier of Steph Curry and Kawhi Leonard? Disrespectful. They haven't even won championships as a number 1 guy. AD won a championship with LeBron James as a number 2 guy when AD was a second guy. Giannis and Harden have not won championships. Steph Curry ran the league for 5 years. Kawhi Leonard won a championship in 2019 as number 1 guy. That's disrespectful, Nick. That's fanboy.
I mean, if we're just going to say it's reputational and it's guys who are 2-time champions who play both ends of the court, then I guess I need Akeem Olajuwon higher up here as well. But unfortunately for Akeem and for Kawhi, it's based on this season. I'm old enough to remember the playoffs last year, where you're right. Luka's team did lose to Kawhi's team, even though Luka thoroughly and completely outplayed Kawhi Leonard in that series, averaging, a humble 31, 10, and 9, and the game-winning shot in, what was that, Game 4 of the series? Right in Kawhi's, no. It wasn't in Kawhi's eye, because the best defender in basketball wouldn't guard Luka the whole series. And then
Nick's tactics are very chaotic. You know why? Because if you use the logic he uses, you're going to be able to switch any players from 2 to 10, 10 to 5 very quickly, week by week, due to what he's saying. When I keep my list, I keep LeBron James number 1 as the best player in the world for a long time, until where it's evident he passed the torch. A lot of fans, a lot of media guys, they like to switch the best player in the world every month or so. They'll usually state that it was LeBron James, then it was Kevin Durant, then it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, then it's this player, and that's that player. I don't want to hear any of that. LeBron James has been the best player in the world for a long time. He has not yet passed the torch as of yet. Whenever it comes to Kawhi Leonard being the second best player, Luka Doncic did not just pass over him because Luka had a great playoff series. That's not the way it works. It's not going to work like that, Nick Wright. No, sir.
Kawhi in the next round got a 3-1 lead, and what did he do? This is what he did. Just melted down. It's like, oh no, too much pressure. Oh no, we're up 17.
That is blasphemy.
Okay, if you wanted to argue that Giannis or Anthony Davis should be replacing Luka, I wouldn't be so apoplectic. But you've
First of all, I don't even know if he knows what that word means. And second of all, Giannis Antetokounmpo, oh man, he said he'd rather put Giannis but not Kawhi Leonard. That's, he has his initiative for LeBron James.
got Kawhi not only replacing Luka, but jumping ahead of Giannis and Anthony Davis. Get the hell out of here. We just saw it. Last year happened. We can't pretend. I know it was the worst moment.
Okay, real quick, and listen, if I'm going to play Nick's game of his pyramid scheme, the tier 1 is LeBron James by himself. The tier 2 is going to be Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry. The tier 3 is going to be James Harden, or my bad, well, I'm going in order here. So the tier 3 would have to be Giannis, James Harden, Anthony Davis, and Luka Doncic. And then the tier 4 based on this list would be Damian Lillard, Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler, yada yada. But that's how it, if I were going with his 4 pyramid scheme list, that's the way that those tiers would work. I'm playing his logic, if that makes sense.
Of your sports life, watching the Clippers melt down, your lifelong team. But you can't pretend it didn't happen. I know you want to forget it, but we can't forget it for the sake of this analysis.
You think just because you throw out $10 words like apoplectic that you're going to win this argument? You're just what you said. That argument, you can't have it both ways, Nick Wright. What did we see Giannis doing last year in the playoffs?
Bingo.
To what he accomplished previously, I left him there.
It's too
Go
much.
ahead, Wiles.
Go ahead, Wiles.
Okay. Can we put it? I have one issue. Can we put up the whole pyramid, please? So I can look, because my guy is so far down on the pyramid, it's outrageous. Especially because when you're talking about pyramids and triangles, that's like his thing. You can't have Kyrie that low on any pyramid because it's something about, the angles of the pyramid.
Thank you. And putting Zion Williamson in that class over Kyrie Irving, over Bradley Beal, that's disrespect. Over Devin Booker. No, sir. No, sir.
It's really offensive to him. So here are 3 reasons why Kyrie should be moved up multiple tiers, multiple levels. Reason number 1, the guy's healthy and rested. Not only is he posting Instagrams that saying he's...
All right, I'm not going to go too much on Kyrie on this, but overall, Nick Wright is wrong on that list. There's 2 different tiers I went into. Or my bad, there's 2 different equations of tiers. So the first one was pretty much on my intro of the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, which is tier 1's the superstars in the league. There's around 5 or 6 superstars in the league. Tier 2, there are around a couple of other star players. Then tier 3 are the all-star type players. So for example, like a Devin Booker, like a Chris Middleton, like a Bam Adebayo, a Domantas Sabonis, in that mix. So that's the first equation. The second one was playing alongside Nick Wright's around 8 to 9 different levels, and within the pyramid. I only covered the top 4 within that, but that's my top 10 list. I'm not going to cover more within the top 15, top 20. I may do that a little more in one of these videos, but I'm going to leave it at that. I know it's very back and forth when it comes to your guys' list, but you got to keep it consistent, and that's how I'm keeping mine. We'll end it off there.